Hello, I'm Sean McAvoy. I'm with the Long Island Living History Association, along with the Royal Sussex Society, here portraying a soldier of the Royal Sussex Regiment in 1914. When the British first came to the Western Front, they came as an elite force, the British Expeditionary Force. They were all professional soldiers. They were all elite marksmen. And that was because they were trained to be very proficient with this rifle, the short magazine Lee Enfield Mark III Stahl. It's a lot to say, but you can shorten it to the SMLE. Now, soldiers were taught to fire very proficiently and very fast. That's why the first engagement between British and Germans at the Battle of the Mons would practically scare the Germans away. They were firing so fast that they thought that they had machine guns. That's really how proficient they were. But the British Army didn't stay as professional as it was in the beginning. Really, the Great War claimed lives very fast, especially when there was no trenches, interestingly enough. So what happened is the old, very trained professional soldiers would die out and they would start replacing them. They would have a huge recruitment drive, and eventually it would turn into conscription in 1917. And you would start losing your professional tone of the British Army. Now, the British Army changed in many ways throughout the war. They started wearing their service caps and would eventually change to wearing helmets right here with our Brodie helmet. A Brodie helmet would protect your head way better than what the service cap here would. Interestingly enough, when you put this on and they issued it to their military, what would happen? Well, they would get more reports of head injuries. Why is that? Well, it's because instead of you dying from a wound to your head, you would survive it and just take an injury. Now with this right here. So that's a little detail. Talk a little bit about the statistics of this helmet. In 1915, everybody's wearing helmets, except for the Germans. They took until 1916 to wear their helmets. Now this right here, what I'm standing next to, is the Lewis gun. The Lewis gun, created in 1911 and produced for the British in 1914, was one of the first light machine guns. It was air-cooled. So what happens, this tube right here is not the barrel. The tube actually houses the barrel, and the barrel is going to be smaller in there, while the open space around it collects all the cool air to cool it down. They used this drum right here, which held out 47 rounds, or 49 rounds actually, and if it was used on an aircraft, they would make this drum bigger and use 97 rounds. 97 rounds to be put on an airplane and be used for dogfighting. Now, it was a pretty big deal. Everybody at the time was using water-cooled, big, heavy machine guns. And this thing being able to be used, brought around wherever it needed, was revolutionary. At first, the British didn't want it. They thought that their heavy machine guns did the job. When they started using it in 1914 and realized, you know what, this thing's pretty great. By 1916, every company had a Lewis machine gun because it was just doing the job that they needed. And in fact, soldiers, when they were fighting, they considered their biggest enemy to be the machine gun. When it came to fighting across open fields in no man's land and things like that, it was the machine guns that were really doing the carnage. Now, World War I was really a breeding ground of so much technology when it comes to poison gas, tanks, machine guns, and strategy as a whole. So that's why you can see so many things today in modern combat that really traces its roots back to the First World War. And that's why it's super important to study this war in particular, as it was such a base for things today. Thank you very much for listening.